his game is really good, and then I look forward to seeing his name called kind of early on day 2.
All right, guys, got to talk about Arnold Ebiketie, pass rusher from Penn State University, 80.67 consensus grade from us here at TDN. 6'0", 2'3", 250 pounds, 34 1/8 on the arms. A lot of length, a lot of explosiveness. And this was a guy who I had some questions coming into the year because he played at Temple and then transferred to Penn State. But he's absolutely that brand of defensive end that Penn State has gravitated towards throughout the course of recent years, and that length and that explosiveness, that penetration. You think about that stereotypical wide 9 defensive end who just really comes screaming in off the edge, and that's where he wins. But you do see some flashes of versatility in his game. So, Brentley, let's start with you. Arnold Ebiketie, what impressed you the most about his game this year at Penn State?
Well, for me, it was just the diversity of his game, right? Because you mentioned on some of his traits, his length, 34-inch arms, his explosiveness, his ability to get upfield as a pass rusher. But for me, it was really his ability to set the edge. And he's a firm run defender, doesn't get knocked off his spot. He's really good at the point of attack. He uses his long arms really well to lock out, really kind of disrupts the line of scrimmage. And so for a guy who has that explosiveness, has that kind of natural pass rush ability to also be able to affect the game in the run game, he's a player I'm really high on. I think he could end up being, an extremely high pick.
Yeah, I like Arnold Ebiketie. You talk about his explosiveness. That helps him set up that inside cross-face move that he likes to step cross the offensive tackle, and it puts them in kind of a bind because they're trying to overset for the speed rush. So looking at him, and I think the most underrated part of his game is his run defense. Mm-hmm. When you see him, you don't technically think that he's going to set the edge with that power and that length and that girth that he has, but he does it well. I kind of want to see if he can kind of kick inside at times and give some guards a little bit of some quickness and kind of diversify his game a little bit more, even as not just a edge rusher, but someone that can move inside a little bit. But his game is really good, and then I look forward to seeing his name called kind of early on day 2.
Savvy player, he does have a nice blend of athleticism, but it is some technical stuff that I really appreciate about his game. And I think he has that ability to win around the outside hip of an offensive tackle, but you kind of have him slanting and slashing gaps and stuff like that, and he's pretty slippery through those creases, and there's just a lot to like here. And he leveled up in competition and proved that he belonged, and I just feel like outside of that top tier of edge, like we start to think about Ebiketie, and towards the back of that first round, early second round, I think that's kind of his sweet spot for him.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think teams are going to have to answer the question, are they comfortable with his size, right? Because we seen him at the Senior Bowl. He seemed to have somewhat of a thinner lower half, but he does make up for that with just his tenacity and his motor, in the run game, his willingness to fight, to battle with offensive tackles. So I think it's just going to be a matter of them feeling as though if they can bet on that, which I feel comfortable with. If you're talking about a high-level pass rusher and then also a guy that can give you something against the run, I'm taking that all day. Just the way the NFL is now, I'm definitely taking that back into the first round. I like Ebiketie.
Well, and there's some natural leverage built in here, too, because he's 6'0", 2'3". He's not 6'5", right? So, he's 250, and I generally agree that I think he is leaner in the lower half as far as his build versus some of the guys that have a lot more of their muscle mass and carry a lot more of their weight in their lower halves. For me, I either want him in a wide 9 or want him in a 3-4 rush linebacker. I'm not particularly interested. I know you had mentioned seeing him inside. I want to give him those natural angles, right? Because he does have that length and that separation skill, I think, is where he really shines as it comes to defense as far as keeping his chest clean so he can disengage off of blocks. But I do think about like the Michigan game and how much they try to run the football, and he put that in congestion. I just don't know about that ability to consistently anchor and get off in traffic when it's more congested, and I don't naturally have that outside arm free, and I just know I'm looking to turn stuff back inside as it's coming out at me. So I think for Ebiketie, like that's the space that I get really excited about what he could be.